Peace, God bless, hope everyone's contending for the faith. This video is a little different, it's a bit of a throwback to some of my earlier videos that I used to do. But because of a lot of the predictive programming and mind control that's coming through, especially to do with like the World Health Organization and the Great Reset and all the rest of it, I thought I'd better just make a quick video, because when they dropped the coronavirus pandemic on everybody, I knew it was coming in 2012 because I'd read it in the predictive programming that they were going to do a pandemic, and I never did a video on it. I should have done, because it was in a 2012 Daily Mail article called the Armageddon virus, which is still online if you want to watch that. And I did a video right on the eve of when they dropped it, but it got banned off YouTube straight away. So this video is kind of like one of those I'm just going to put in now as when it comes around. But the Zootopia movie says everybody's going to live in this city and be equal. Everybody, if you've got long claws or short claws, you're all living in the city equal. So it's like a zoo utopia. But guess what? Somebody else mentioned about a zoo utopia, and it was an AI computer back in, it was either 2011 or 2015. And it was asked about would AI take over the world, and it kind of cracked this quip saying that, don't worry, I'll keep your woman safe in my people's zoo. And I was kind of thinking about this because I did see in England there was this TV show called QED, and it was kind of like predicting the future, and it said everybody in the future was going to live in these cities under these computer gods. And I mean, this is going back 25 years I saw this program. So with the release of AI, it's kind of making sense. If you think about the Big Brother TV show, everybody lived in communes in the Big Brother TV show and had to report to Big Brother, and they were constantly under surveillance, and it was like some sort of kind of psychological warfare operation on these people to see if they'd crack. And it's all kind of going towards that. The net's kind of closing in on the sinners. But also, this Cursed Earth in Judge Dredd, I used to buy the Judge Dredd comic back in the 80s. I was kind of intrigued by it. It was basically, there was a nuclear war, and because of the radioactive fallout, everybody lived in these mega cities. So there was one on the west coast, one on the east coast, and Judge Dredd was in Mega City 1, which was sort of on the east coast of America. And everybody who was in the Cursed Earth, the wastelands, was like a mutant. They'd been warped by all the radiation, and inside the cities it was all like anybody could be a criminal, and the judges were like the judge, jury, and executioner. So it's kind of like this dystopic future. So it definitely, 2000 AD Judge Dredd was another predictive programming, as well as that Zootopia we looked at. But if you look at the map of UN Agenda 21 that they released, they released all this stuff a long time ago. I remember when YouTube was pretty good. You could have some freedom on there, freedom of speech. I remember looking into the UN Agenda 21. There was some pretty good videos on it, and a long time ago you could get hold of this information quite readily. You could look at the maps. They wanted people out of these densely populated areas all over the world, and it was like they were redrawing the map of the world. And I was always thinking, well, where are these people going to go? But obviously, the answer is pretty clear. There's going to be a few events. Klaus Schwab calls them black swans. This is, what he means by that is an event that somebody never foresaw, or something that's never happened, something that's a shock. You never see these things occur, like a 9/11 kind of event. So Klaus has got some black swans up his sleeve, and he said, imagine a pandemic cyber attack. Just imagine a pandemic cyber attack. Okay, so the Fourth Reich pops his head up and starts telling us there's going to be a gigantic cyber attack. I've been putting two and two together, connecting the dots, etc. And it seems to me that the way they're going to achieve this goal of getting people into the cities is to do a grid shutdown. If you do a grid shutdown, i.e. you turn off the electric supply, the water supply, you're going to put people back at least 250 years, where you've got, you would have to have the shops to sell these things, because you might not even be able to get hold of candles. If you have an outage, you have what we call power cuts in Europe, in England. If you have a power cut, generally you don't ever have a power cut, so you hardly ever keep candles in. But you have to be somebody who's kind of quite resourceful to get a grip on these scenarios. They can be very stressful. And if you shut down the grid, because I think they've got rid of the nuclear war scenario. I think they were pretty big on that in the 80s, that was going to be like that. But I think after all those tests that they did on the Bikini Islands, where they just blew hell out of it for years with nuclear bombs, and all the indigenous people developed like thyroid cancers and their skin was falling off, I think they decided that nobody was going to survive, including themselves. So they scrapped the nuclear war idea. And I think they've gone for like bioweapons and power cuts. But if you're wondering why I'm talking about this stuff, I think it's good to have this. I'm not trying to panic anybody into running for the hills. But I was thinking of putting this video together as a basic. I'm looking at why all these things are coming through the matrix. And if we have these things in the back of our mind, it's a bit like God said to Noah, I'm going to flood the earth, build an ark. And so, it can lead you back to the prepper idea of, you're going to grow a crisis garden. And, there was a lot of survival programs on the TV and things like that. I'm not going that far because, like when I got saved and I was reading The Mark of the Beast, I remember I kind of flipped out slightly, and I ordered a tent off the internet kind of thing, and then I came to my senses and kind of realised, like it says in the Sermon on the Mount, take no thought for your life, don't worry about tomorrow. So, I'm not going down that avenue, particularly where it's like this panic thing. If you watch the Alex Jones show, you can be scared out of your mind by the end of the Alex Jones show, or the Alex Jones show as it was 15 years ago. For example, but I just think with COVID and everything that happened then, you're in that scenario where they've declared this curfew. I actually think curfew was a good idea. It made all the sinners go to bed and behave, but you couldn't leave town. There was like the lockdowns. There was all that pressure about having a vaccine that everybody went along with it. The people who were deceived, who were atheists, who rejected the gospel, they're given the influence of strong delusion. But when you're in that scenario, you need to be, forewarned is forearmed, as it says. But the other video that reminded me of this in this scenario, it was the caller on the radio show. Was it Art Bell? Art Bell's conspiracy show, whatever, in America, and he said he was a former employee of Area 51 and he was on the run. And he basically said, what we're thinking of as aliens, they're not aliens, they're extra-dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with, and they've infiltrated all these areas of the military establishment. That's basically what he said about demons, you see. These are the demons. And it reminded me of the verse in Revelation 16 where it says, out of the mouth of the false prophet, the beast, and the dragon go unclean spirits who resemble frogs to go out to the kings of the earth and deceive them into the great day of the Lord, Armageddon. And so that's what I was getting from this video, that I thought that, the demons have embedded themselves into these governments, and they're all of these governments have combined into like Earth Force, because this thing about Armageddon is it's a war between heaven and earth. You know, if we look at apocalypses, you know, in the book of Daniel, if you're looking at that dream of Nebuchadnezzar where he saw the image and the head was gold, the body was silver, etc. These are the kingdoms of the heathen that are passing from one to the next throughout time. So these needed to be conquered. You know, they're being superseded by another kingdom. They're being conquered. So there was a war between the Persians and the Babylonians, then the Persians and the Greeks. I mean, that occurred. The Persians and the Persians fell to the Greeks at the Battle of Issus, as far as I remember. Where, you know, you had Alexander the Great, and then the Greeks fell to the Romans finally around something like 160 BC. That was the Battle of Corinth, and then this Roman Empire, it's the biggest empire to rule Earth, and there'll never be a bigger empire than that, and it will last until the second coming. So, you know, are we under the Romans? Yes, we are. So for me, that dismisses this little, you know, Satan's little Caesar Tartaria theory that we're in a post-resurrection age. I don't know if you've heard of that one. I know people who've got massive knowledge on the Bible, and they're into that, but I just see it as you can't square it. If the Romans are still in charge, then it means the second coming hasn't happened yet. So basically, back to the plan of the Great Reset and the Illuminati. It seems to be that they want to get people into a lab rat scenario. You are totally under the thumb, and so they're using all these invented doomsday scenarios, global warming being one of them. You know, there is zero evidence of global warming, but because all the scientists are completely controlled and you have a cancel culture, then there's no way you can have a voice in the mainstream. So because of global warming, everyone's now got to deindustrialize, you know, and meet all these targets. So deindustrialization is basically a cover for, you know, a return to serfdom, which is dark age, you know, working poverty, you know, all this hyperinflation, you know, people losing their freedoms. It's all because everybody in the world is going back under the heel of Babylon, you know. And what caused the release at that time? It was the Protestant Reformation, right? It was amazingly, Martin Luther just compared a couple of verses, and the next minute everybody's against the Catholic Church. That's what knowledge does, you know. But look what happened. People became completely apathetic and ignorant towards the Bible, and went to sleep, and Babylon's captured all these nations again. So yeah, global warming, one of the scams. And you know, if you think about NASA as well, you know, and the flat Earth, it's very revealing, that, because it shows that all these governments are cooperating to deceive people round the clock. You know, you have to maintain that deception permanently, and have some kind of secret cabal who want to trick people non-stop. So, you know, to talk now about the cyber attack that Klaus Schwab was highlighting was going to be one of his black swans. You know, we've seen the release of AI on the internet. You got people there saying there's somebody called Mo Goldat. He's just come out of the woodwork saying that he's some sort of AI expert, and he says, we shouldn't have released it on the internet. And it's alright, it's on the internet. You know, if they didn't want it on the internet, they would take it down off the internet, wouldn't they? They don't want England to have a Brexit, so they don't do a proper Brexit, you know. And nothing's happening without them having the absolute say in the matter. So they put the AI on the internet, and this Mo Goldat guy says it's not the AI that's bad. It's people that are bad. If AI gets into the hands of a hacker, maybe they could just hack people's bank accounts and so on. So then you start getting all these subliminal messages coming through the matrix, and you think, yeah, I'm going to put two and two together here. It's going to be the cyber attack, pandemic, black swan with the AI hack, and that's going to bring the grid down. Maybe if you wanted people out of certain areas where you decided, like on the Georgia Guidestones, that people were a cancer on the earth, then you could just shut their grid down, and pretty soon, because everybody has such a high standard of living. Incidentally, when the UN was releasing these Agenda 21 they're like manifestos, they used to blame the Protestant Reformation for everything. They would blame it for the Industrial Revolution, saying the Industrial Revolution was bad, and that's all they ever harp on about is pollution, and they want everything to go back fallow again, etc. So they want people out of these areas, and the rug is going to get pulled from underneath people's feet very soon, I think. And you look at China's social credit score system, that is, all these avenues that you can see coming into people's lives now, they're all going to kind of bottleneck them into this future, this 2030 future that the global elites have decided is going to happen. When I say the word global, that's just the Matrix term for their nasty little gang, of godless control freaks. So, the hacker is going to play a big part in bringing down the grid of the places they don't want people to be in, and then they're going to move people into smart cities, and in the smart cities they're going to be tracked everywhere they go. They're probably going to be chipped. They're going to be under facial recognition systems, and they're going to have like the AI god over them. They're not going to own anything. They're not going to own nothing. They're going to be literally slaves, and they're going to be forced to have vaccinations. They're not going to have any rights or freedoms. This is basically the Zootopia of the elite. Their utopia, their demonic utopia, was to bring people into the ultimate state of slavery, which has been termed the final revolution by some people. And everything that they've been working towards for probably over 100 years is going to come to its evil fruition. I mean, that's basically, I think this is what, I think that God has handed people over to this because they've chosen demons as their cruel lords, and they're going to be oppressed by their lords that they have chosen for themselves by rejecting God. So on Forbes there was this article. It was very interesting. It says, welcome to 2030. I own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been better. Welcome to the year 2030. Welcome to my city, or should I say our city. I don't own anything. I don't own a car. I don't own a house. I don't own any appliances or any clothes. It might seem odd to you, but it makes perfect sense for us in this city. Everything you considered a product has now become a service. We have access to transportation, accommodation, food, and all the things we need in our daily lives. One by one, all these things became free. So it ended up not making sense for us to own much. It all sounds very, very nice. First, communication became digitized and free to everyone. Then, when clean energy became free, things started to move quickly. Transportation dropped dramatically in price. It made no sense for us to own cars anymore because we could call a driverless vehicle or a flying car for longer journeys within minutes. We started transporting ourselves in a much more organised and coordinated way when public transport became easier, quicker and more convenient than the car. So that's the other thing, they hate the car, don't they? I mean, you can just get in the car and go and drive somewhere, wherever you want to go drive. You could go to the beach, you could go on holiday. They obviously hate that. That's what that regional lockdown was about. Now I can hardly believe that we accepted congestion and traffic jams, not to mention the air pollution from combustion engines. What were we thinking? So she goes on to say about using the bike, use your bike. In our city we don't pay any rent because someone else is using our free space whenever we do not need it. That sounds vile. That's basically like you don't have a home. My living room is used for business meetings when I'm not there. What? Once in a while I will choose to cook for myself. It is easy. The necessary kitchen equipment is delivered at my door within minutes. Since transport became free, we stopped having all those things stuffed into our home. Sounds to me like they're going to be fed cockroaches in some dystopian, disgusting technological trap. That's what this is. This also made the breakthrough of the circular economy easy. When products are turned into services, no one has an interest in things with a short lifespan. Everything is designed for durability, repairability and recyclability. If you go to these Latin countries like in South America, they're all walking around all day in the blazing heat, carrying a cart in like a wagon, like a horse would, full of garbage to try and get some money for recycling it, and they're making like $2 a day. That's classic Latin Dark Age garbage slavery. Roman Catholic Church stamped all over it. That's what they're on about. The materials are flowing more quickly than our economy can be transformed to new products pretty easily. Environmental problems seem far away since we only use clean energy and clean production methods. The air is clean, the water's clean, and nobody would dare to touch the protected areas of nature because they constitute such value to our well-being. Yeah, because they're Baal worshippers, they worship the earth, and they're demons, so they hate people. Man is in the image of God, so man, if you accept the Lord Jesus Christ, you're born again. You have Christ in you. You're like God. You're the image of God. That's the whole point. It's very God exalts the humble. So we're exalted in our nature when we accept God. We become like God. So the demons, they hate this. So the article talks about those green issues. Also interestingly, it says when AI and robots took over so much of our work, we suddenly had time to eat well, sleep well, and spend time with other people. What it means is AI and robots made people unemployed. The concept of rush hour makes no sense anymore. Blah blah blah. So basically they're going to be unemployed as well, so that's strange. Slaves. This is the main point of the article that I found the most interesting, because it shows that generally everything we do, this is why you should never worry, everything we do is voluntary. If you have faith in God, you will not be handed over to the devil, and you will be able to resist the devil, and you cannot subject yourself to demons if you don't do the things they want you to do, i.e. sin. And so, like it says here, my biggest concern is all the people who do not live in our city. My biggest concern is all the people who do not live in our city. They chose not to go to the city. Those we lost on the way, those who decided that it became too much, all this technology, those who felt obsolete and useless when robots and AI took over big parts of our jobs, those who got upset with the political system and turned against it. So that'd be people, who are labelled conspiracy theorists. We all know the politicians are all bought off by the Catholic Church and the kings. People like Rishi Sunak, he's just been shoved in there by Prince Charles. It was pretty obvious to me, as soon as Prince Charles got in, he gave it a few weeks and put Rishi Sunak in. Keep everyone poor. The previous Prime Minister who got elected, I can't even remember her name because I don't really follow English politics as close as I used to because I don't live in that country. But she was going to try and turn the economy around. And then all the Masons who were in those positions in the Bank of England were like, what's she doing? She's trying to reinvigorate the economy. This is madness. And so, they booted her out and put Rishi Sunak in, and he turned it back into, no, everything's going to be hyperinflated and depressing. So they have to get that back on track. They've got to make you bankrupt. Everything's got to be bad. It's nothing to do with a progressive society. It's all about squashing people into this lab rat system. So these people who live outside the cities, so in 2000 AD they would have been the mutants. They live different kinds of lives outside the city. Some have formed little self-supplying communities. Others just stayed in the empty and abandoned houses in small 19th century villages. See, that's kind of interesting there. It kind of proves my point. Others stayed in the empty and abandoned houses in the small 19th century villages. So that basically means, like, when the power grid's shut down, everybody's going to flip out, because they used to 50-inch plasma screens, the pub, football, eating well. You know, they have to go to the supermarket, get all their food. They're used to all this high standard of living, so they're not going to hang around with the power off. You know, they can't wash. There's no food. There's no electricity to keep them either warm or cool in the summer or the winter. So they're going to hightail it to these smart cities where they're going to own nothing. They're going to be really happy, apparently. Yeah, they're just going to feed them on cockroaches or whatever they've got planned, and you know, give them all these vaccines for all these made-up viruses. Genetically edit them and do all the things that the demons probably want to do to people. So, what a lovely ending to the video. You know, if you glad you tuned in, leave a comment. You know, what do you think? I mean, I think that, you know, like I said, I think forewarned is forearmed, and I think, you know, everything that's coming through the Matrix is pointing towards this. And, you know, as God said, go and make an ark. You know, we should prepare ourselves spiritually in the Lord Jesus Christ, knowing that God prepares us and gives us everything that we need. But, you know, you saw with COVID, as soon as they went into this lockdown and panic mode, you know, they were pumping all this fear-mongering propaganda through everyone's TVs, scaring them out of their wits. And, you know, they're wearing like NBC suits and going down the supermarket looking like spacemen. And, you know, everyone's completely paranoid with the social distancing and stuff. They all go along with what Leviathan says to them, because Leviathan is king of all the children of pride. Yeah. So we had the warnings, didn't we? The pride movement. Who's the children of pride? The rainbow people. We know who they are. The bad rainbow. So the Lord Jesus Christ is going to protect us from all the wiles of the devil. You know, that's what it says, to put on the armour of God, that you might be able to stand an evil day. So leave a comment. What do you think?